Calling All Platforms is a production of Supporter Sound Studios. To learn more about how you can support the podcast, go to www.patreon.com/callingallplatforms.
Now, into the ticket office of Disneyland. Oh boy, let's do this.
Don't think the CIA is going to be trying to hack your second-gen iPod.
I didn't think so. There might have been a lot of illegal music on there. I wouldn't doubt it. But, I mean...
Put it in somebody's pants and have them sit on it.
Switch on and switch off. Oh, sorry. I'll go back to my hole.
iTunes is a constant source of embarrassment.
I'm just so used to barfing right now.
I really don't see Apple ever doing that.
I am the devil.
I can't do it anymore without laughing. I was going to do the whole thing. Welcome, everyone, to the Calling All Platforms podcast. I am your host, Wes, and I'm here with Landon.
Hello.
And Caleb.
I'm so tired.
And we are here to talk all things tech. Very tiredly, I guess. I think he's tired.
A little punch drunk. A
little bit?
A little bit.
Got hit in the face by Apple.
Yeah, I got hit in the face by an Apple event.
Yes, most of us did. But I do like the memes, as we were talking about previously.
And now, listener, we're about to hit you in the face with an Apple event.
Yes, we are. Okay. And this is pretty much all we're going to talk about. Because this is all that's happened.
I am going to break up the monotony with some gaming news that's unrelated to Apple at the end. I do have some, but that's about it.
We may sprinkle little comments on there, but today,
please do.
In this edition of Calling All Platforms, Caleb edition, Caleb's Apple edition, whatever you want to call it. But we're going to go ahead and give the time to Caleb. Let's get started, buddy.
Oh, man. Okay, listener. So this past week, on Tuesday, Apple announced new iPhones. Nice big event with all their stuff, and it was... Yay! Okay, there's a lot to talk about. But first, I want to give you the quote of the week.
Yes.
Ooh, this is the quote of the week. I'm way more interested in stickers than I am in Word. I will not be providing any context for that quote. Yeah, it just gets to sit as it is. All right, so this iPhone event. Good times, good times.
My thoughts on the iPhone event, just as a whole.
Okay, the event as a whole.
This seemed like every iPhone event is turning more and more into a marketing type thing. But this one, for some reason to me, just felt like one giant commercial.
It was.
Like, more so than any other Apple event or any other event I've seen. It's just, it was very odd.
I'd be willing to bet that was probably due to the prevalence of ads. There was literally an ad, every 10 minutes. To be fair, they were pretty good ads. Some of them were quite entertaining. And, the trailer for the C TV show that's going to be on Apple TV+.
Yeah.
They had, a nice, full, fat theatrical trailer for that TV show. Actually looks...
Interesting.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, nifty stuff. But yes, it definitely did feel more like a commercial than it was informational. And, that's not necessarily different than how Apple's always done their events. I just feel like they've usually been a little bit more unique about the way that they're selling the product on stage.
Yeah.
It's less like this is an ad for the product and more like this is Steve Jobs personally selling you an iPhone or something like that.
Right.
And so, we're very much more in a traditional advertising realm with later events. I think that's definitely true. But for the iPhone event, we're going to go ahead and we're going to cover the items that they talked about in the order they talked about them, which, listener, means we're going to be talking about gaming first.
Yeah.
Which is bizarre, but here's the world we live in now, where I'm more excited for an Apple gaming service than I am almost any of the other games that are coming out this fall. And that's just weird. That being said, I do still want to buy Control. That looks so good. Anyways, Apple Arcade. That was what they started off the event with. Tim Cook walked out and said, "Welcome. We have so much to talk about. I'm going to dispense with my normal recap of the past year. And I'm going to introduce so-and-so to talk about Apple Arcade." Literally, he was on stage at the beginning of the event for about a minute and then walked off, and somebody else came out to talk about Apple Arcade. So, they talked a bunch about it. They showed off a couple of games, trailers for a few games, which Sayonara Wild Hearts looks really cool. It's basically like a playable music video, was kind of how they introduced it, and it looks pretty sweet. Also going to be available on Switch, so it's a mobile exclusive to Apple Arcade, but you will be able to buy it on the Switch as well. So there weren't really a whole lot of new details to the service. They just kind of recapped everything we already knew. They did say that there will be new games monthly. They did not specify whether or not old games will be rolling out of the service. I would suspect that probably exclusivity for them will be rolling out so that you'll be able to buy them on the App Store or play them on Android or other platforms, whatever, over time. I'm not sure. I guess it probably remains to be seen whether or not they will stay in the service indefinitely. If they are getting a good return on the investment from Apple Arcade, then they'll probably keep it around. But they did give us a release date. September 19th, available in 150 countries. So that is this week.
Yes.
This week. And I'm so dang excited about it because they did confirm $5 a month for the whole kit and caboodle.
Family.
And that's the family subscription as well, which just makes Apple Music feel like such a ripoff.
Yeah.
All these other services that they've launched over the past year, it's all like $5 a month. And that includes a family subscription. Like, great. Apple Music is $15 a month for a family subscription, $10 by itself. What is up with music labels? Evidently, that's the issue here. So, I don't know.
Yeah, that's the best I would say, but yeah.
Probably. But, whatever the case, family subscription included in there and comes with a 1-month free trial. So, you sign up for it and you get a month free trial. So, there you go. That's Apple Arcade.
Cool.
Very neat. I actually missed most of the Apple Arcade stuff, unfortunately.
Yeah, it didn't take very long to get through.
I didn't start the Apple event until a few minutes in, and I was like, oh, that's over.
Yeah.
I did see the price, which I was excited about.
There you go.
I can't take advantage of it, nor do I really care.
You can.
Well, I have an iPad.
You've got a Mac.
Well, I do have a Mac.
You can play it on a Mac.
Would it be...
Everything is playable on all of the devices.
Would be as much fun on a Mac as they would on a phone.
Yeah,
they're made for mobile.
I will report back because there are a few games on there that are like first-person games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I don't care how good their touch controls are. That's gonna be better with a mouse and keyboard.
True, but I'm not gonna play though. I would be more interested in the mobile games.
But one of them is legitimately The Floor Is Lava.
Okay.
Well.
So I'll report back, and obviously
maybe you can just add me to your family thing, and
I actually probably could.
we'll talk about it.
But yeah, so that's Apple Arcade. It honestly, they got through that in about 15 minutes at the beginning of the event, 10 minutes at the beginning of the event. It's the kind of thing where
10.
Everybody was all like, "Oh, I'm gonna start the event a couple of minutes in or something like that," because they know that usually the first 10 or 15 minutes are Tim standing on stage recapping the past year. But no, it was trailers and announcements for Apple Arcade, and yeah, blink and you miss it. So, speaking of which, blink and you miss the Apple TV Plus section as well. Because pretty much all they did for that was have somebody walk out and say, Apple TV Plus, here's a new trailer for C. And they showed the new trailer for C, which looks pretty dope. And then they said, it's going to be available November 1st in 100 countries, $5 a month, family subscription included.
Yeah.
And then this little tidbit, which holy crap. If you buy an iPhone, iPad, Mac, or Apple TV sometime in the next, 6 months or so, you will get a year of TV Plus included.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to that because buying my wife the iPhone 11.
Yeah.
So, because I was like, ooh, $5 a month, that's a great deal. But I was still up in the air if I wanted to pay for it or not. But I was like, oh,
you're going to get to
for
try
a
it
year?
out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll do that. I'll watch all your shows and then probably unsubscribe.
Yeah. Now,
Yep.
Okay, question. Just a reminder for me. On Apple TV Plus, that's just their originals?
Yes.
That's all it is. Okay.
Yes.
And I've heard, they didn't talk about this at the event, but I heard that they're going to be, most of the shows that they're coming out with at the first, when it gets launched, will have 3 episodes, and then it'll be a weekly rollout of each episode after that. And that makes sense because you get 1 month for free as a trial. Everyone could just go get the free trial and binge everything and then be done, which a lot of people do with HBO and Netflix, especially with Game of Thrones and all the original stuff that are there. They just want to watch them, so they'll get the 1 month free and then binge it. So Apple's actually, I think this is smart for them to give us 3 episodes, get us into it. We'll decide then if we like it or not, and if you want to keep watching, you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
The honest truth is, if they can manage to produce content that is in the same vein and of the same quality as something like HBO, they are literally $10 less a month.
Oh, yeah.
Than HBO's subscription.
Yeah.
So they're going to cut them off at the knees. And the thing about this is, I love that Apple is leaning into this, because Apple is basically saying with this, subscription or services are really important to us, but they're still not our main business model. Our main business model is hardware. We're always going to be, or at least for the foreseeable future, we're going to be a hardware company, and these services are basically just a way to sweeten the pot for anybody who is buying our hardware. And so for people that are buying the hardware, here's the pot sweetener.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. And I'm actually like, I'm on the fence about an iPhone 11, and I'm really hoping that sometime here in the next month or two, they hold another hardware event and announce a new Apple TV. Because I will buy a new Apple TV. It's a lot cheaper than a new iPhone, and I could use the upgrade because it would give me a whole bunch of additional content, or a year of TV Plus for free, and improve my Apple gaming, Apple Arcade gaming experience in my living room.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But that was kind of the thing about Apple TV that caught everyone's attention is, yes, you get a year free if you just buy some hardware from Apple. So cool. All right, moving on to hardware. We're done with services now, and the rest of this is about hardware. So, more exciting stuff, but kind of, I don't know. Some of it is a little bit disappointing. Some of it is a little bit makes me want to bash my head against the wall, because 2 years ago, I spent $780 on an iPad, and now let's talk about the 7th gen iPad. So, it's the successor to the 6th gen iPad, just to be clear in case anyone was confused.
Is that the right order? No, not according to Microsoft. That's definitely the wrong order.
That's true. Right. We had to have the Vista iPad prior to the... Anyways, so... sorry.
That was a great one, actually.
Sorry.
That was pretty good. The Vista.
We do
Except
not
it
talk
actually,
about that.
It actually
iPad
worked.
Vista.
This iPad actually worked.
Oh. I mean, the machine turned on. I guess that's all they wanted. No. Vista worked. People bought it. Made them money.
I guess.
That's it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. So, the 6th gen iPad was the 9.7-inch iPad that had Apple Pencil support, cost $330, was a great deal for an iPad, has been around for a couple of years, and basically everyone is just like, this thing rocks! So, about, it wasn't quite a year ago, like 8 months ago, Apple introduced the new iPad Air, which is basically exactly the same as the 10.5-inch iPad Pro that I have sitting in front of me right now, that plus the keyboard and pencil I paid $1,000 for, and it was $750 or $780 for just the iPad itself, and they were selling the iPad Air for $500, and I was like, oh man. But I was like, a year and some change into owning a 10.5-inch iPad Pro, so I didn't feel too gypped by it. So, here's the 7th gen iPad. It's got a 10.2-inch display. It's still laid out in the same form factor as before. It's got the home button. So for those of you that are looking for home button Touch ID, it's there. Has an A10 Fusion processor in it, which is the same as the iPhone 7 and the 10.5-inch iPad Pro. It's got the smart connector on the bottom. That's an addition over the 6th gen so that it does support the keyboard. And it also still obviously has pencil support, Generation 1. Pencil support, and it costs $330, just like the 6th gen. It's basically a 10.5-inch iPad Pro with a slightly smaller screen, and doesn't have 120 hertz refresh rate on the screen. So that's functionally the only difference between the two things, which is not bad. Like, I've had my iPad Pro for 2 years. I don't really feel like I'm getting. I got the thing early, and I've gotten my money's worth out of it. I am happy with the device. But if I decided I wanted to resell it at this point, I would not be able to sell it for more than $330. That kind of irks me. I'm not going to sell it. So I guess it's a moot point. But anybody who is in that boat, I'm sorry. It kind of sucks. But 7th gen iPad going to be available on September 30th. You can pre-order it actually here in about a week, and then it will start shipping on September 30th. So there you go. New iPad for you to recommend to your grandparents and all of the
above.
Yeah, my parents need new iPads, and it's gonna be real easy for me to recommend this thing for them.
Good.
Okay, Apple Watch Series 5. let's talk about this.
Apple Watch.
So, new Apple Watch, obviously, it's the successor to the Series 4 because that's how numbers work. Thankfully, numbers are working as expected with Apple this year, which is lovely. Very happy about. Anyway, so Apple Watch Series 5. The big news with this one versus the Series 4 is that it features an always-on display. And they've hit always-on display while maintaining the same 18-hour battery life as the Series 4 by having a super variable refresh rate on the display that will go down to 1 hertz.
Yeah.
Which is 1 refresh per second.
which is, if you have a second hand on the timeface that you're looking at, that makes sense.
It's perfect. Like, they basically are just assuming that is as frequently as we need to refresh. So, unless you've got like a stopwatch on your display or something like that, I don't know.
Yeah.
Do they have stopwatch complications? I don't have
Probably.
an Apple Watch. I don't know. Anyways, it's so that's the big news. Always on display. It dims, and obviously the raise feature, like with your wrist, raising your wrist will brighten the display. You can tap on it to brighten it up as well. But it is always visible. So if you're, just sitting there with your arm on a table or something like that, you can just look at your arm and see what time it is without having to do like a massive gesture or something like that in the middle of a meeting to look at the time and be really obvious about the fact that you are checking the time. So that's the big news for the Apple Watch Series 5. A couple of other things. They've added a compass. So, yay.
Yeah.
Use a compass on your wrist.
Cool.
That does include complication support, so you can have a compass in the rest of your watch face as well. They now are supporting international emergency services calls. So prior to this, you could do like an emergency SOS from your watch and call 911 anywhere in the United States with a cellular version of the thing, even if you didn't have your phone on you and you didn't have like an actual, you can't post phone calls from the thing. It doesn't have a phone number. If you want to make phone calls, you have to have your iPhone nearby. But you could post emergency calls in the US. Now you can do it internationally, so that's cool. And they've introduced a titanium case as an option. So this thing starts at $400 for the GPS enabled version, which is, I believe, the same as the Series 4 started at, and $500 for the cellular enabled version. They're keeping the Series 3, and that is now down to $200, which is pretty good price for that watch. Actually. That's pretty good.
I was actually happy about that because we just bought my wife the Series 3 a couple weeks ago at $200. So I'm like, good. It wasn't cheaper than what I paid for it on sale, so I'm fine with this.
There you go.
Yeah. That would have hurt.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's a good watch. So if you're just looking for base, the Apple Watch functionality still got all the exercise tracking features, and it's got the heart rate monitor and stuff like that. Really what you lose out on going with the Series 3 is the worse screen, smaller screen, and the addition of the EKG heart rate stuff.
Yeah.
And now an always on display. So
not bad. So I get the reasons why they did the always on display the way they did, where it's a hardware thing, but they could very easily do this software-wise. Not the same way, because like the way they do it, and the reasons why they have it in the hardware built in the way they do is because they want to be able to show all the complications. It's still in color. It's still, like, all these things are still going on. And that's why they did it hardware-wise. But they could easily do it software-wise and not kill the battery too much by just showing a watch face with no complications on the background or like on the watch face at the same time, and it's just really dim, it's black, it's just going to be a white watch face. Like, that's Android Wear does it, Samsung does it, the Fitbits, all those things, they all have the same thing. And it doesn't kill I mean, it does obviously still use battery, but not a ton.
It's really hard to say without being able to test it.
Well, right, but I still think they don't. I don't think they couldn't do it.
The way that they introduced it was that it was the variable refresh rate was the reason they were able to get it to work at all.
Well, that's why they do it that way.
I know what you're saying.
I know what you're
saying. You're basically saying that if you have a watch face that is just like literally just the time in grayscale that's just lighting up those lines of pixels, those pixels are still going to be refreshing at 60 hertz. And that's, I'm not sure exactly. I don't know. It's entirely possible that being Apple, they refuse to sacrifice the user experience just to show the time, and that people would they want to have a consistent user experience if the watch face is on versus if the watch face is off. And it might also be the kind of thing where like people would be like, well, I want a customized watch face, because the customized watch faces are like 90%, okay, 70% of the customization of the Apple Watch, and that's a big part of the watch, is that it's customizable. And so people would be like, well, sure, I want to be able to customize my black and white watch face. But then maybe what they're running into there is if they have like a bunch of different watch faces for that, then some of those drain battery faster than others. And then suddenly you've got people that are all like, why am I only getting 15 hours of battery life? You say I should be getting 18 hours of battery life. It's like, well, okay, you're using one of 5 watch faces that just happens to drain the battery super fast versus everything else, which gives an inconsistent user experience. And it's entirely possible that that was what they were shooting for, is just like, we want everybody to be able to have their custom watch faces, but we also want everybody to have exactly the same battery life and the same experience regardless of the watch face that they're using.
Well, that, like, I get that, but at the same time, it's like with my Moto 360 that I had, I could have any of the watch faces and have an always-on version of that watch face, and it just wouldn't show as much of the little things that I put in there. It wouldn't have the moving second hand or whatever, or it wouldn't show the seconds on the watch or whatever. It would just show the main time, and that's it. It didn't do anything else. And all of them had the same effect on the battery life. It didn't matter how complicated the watch face was when it was fully on.
You know, as is frequently the case with Apple, they done it the way they done it.
Oh, yeah.
We are never going to know the
answer.
Yeah,
I mean, I get why they did it, and I am fine with it, but at the same time, it's like, I don't think there's any reason they couldn't do it to the older watches with the software thing. Just, it'd be a lesser version, obviously, and I get that they don't want to do that.
Yeah,
but
I honestly, it's entirely possible that if they were to add it with a software update at this point, it would just, I mean,
they're not going to.
Apple has made correct decisions with pushing features like that via software. Like, okay, the battery thing, the throttling issue associated with low batteries that have poor battery health on iPhones, they made the right call with that. I'm fully on board with the call they made. They did not communicate that call very effectively, sure.
Yeah.
But they made the right call, and people are still upset about it years later. And I don't understand why people are upset about it. People are irrational. And I think it's entirely fair for Apple to basically just have the opinion that, you know what, we said that these watches were going to get this many hours of battery when they were brand new. If we add this feature, always on display via software, it is going to tank the battery life on these devices. People, they're just not going to understand or care. They're just going to see that suddenly they have worse battery life, and they're going to freak out about it. So let's just leave those things how they are and let them upgrade if they want to have. And, you know, they're a hardware company.
Oh, yeah,
so selling more hardware is never going to be a bad thing for them.
Well, and they also could just, you know, like you said, explain why it's getting, like, because, I mean, anytime if I go to turn on always on display on my watch, it says you're going to get worse battery life. Like, this is going to affect battery life. In very big, bold letters, you're going to get worse battery life. And it is very, it warns you quite a lot. That's like, you're going to get worse battery life, by the way, by doing this. I'm like, that's fine. I'm choosing to do this. I want this.
Apple has always been very much of the opinion that it's better to not give users the option to screw up their user experience. And if there are customizations that will allow users to mess it up, Apple doesn't give them to you.
It's true.
So, I mean, all the people that come at you are all like, Mac OS is less customizable than Windows. It's all like, I mean, no. Like, in every way that matters, it's not. But can you go in there and, like, screw up the color palette for the entire OS so that everything looks like vomit? No, you can't do that. You can't, because Apple's all like, I'm sorry, that's just worse. It's worse for your eyes. It's worse for anybody else that is going to ever look at your computer. We're going to give you a couple of color palettes, a light one and a dark one, that work fine, look good. You're stuck with that. If you want to customize like the functionality of everything in the back end, sure, get into terminal, and there's terminal commands for you to do all kinds of crazy stuff to that OS. But as far as the appearance and that kind of thing goes, like, yeah, they do tend to obfuscate a whole lot of options that would allow users to mess up their own user experience.
Right.
Android Wear very much takes the opposite approach of like, look, if you want to screw up your user experience, you totally can. We're going to give you a warning and tell you, here's how this is going to screw up your user experience, but go for it. And Apple just doesn't, they just don't do that.
Well, I had the same gripe about 3D touch and force touch, whatever they call it, on the phone. And they prove it now by
that's
having it in software and had it on software on phones that didn't have the hardware. It's like, you just proved yourself that you could do this. I mean, yes, you don't get the haptic feedback that you get with the 3D touch and all that stuff, but
you actually do lose functionality via not having the hardware. I think what they found was just not that many developers were actually using the hardware.
Well,
and so
I agree.
Putting it in?
I mean, I agree, but it's like they proved to everyone that we could do this software, but we didn't.
Well, having experienced the difference between full-on 3D touch versus not having it for like not quite a year at this point, but still for quite some time, I miss 3D touch. There were a lot of pieces of functionality that 3D touch was just better for than haptic touch,
right?
Or that are just gone. The peek and pop stuff is just gone, and that kind of sucks because there were a few things about that, particularly relating to the camera app, that were really nice. Being able to launch directly into video instead of having to go through photo and swipe to video. But you know what? We can actually talk about that a little bit. Because we're about to talk about the iPhone 11. The nightmare is over. It's the iPhone 11 with 2 1s. Because that's how you write 11 in English. So thank you, Apple, for not being idiots. So, continuing on from Apple not being idiots about this, there are 6 colors of this thing. Very similar to the iPhone XR. And to be clear, this thing is the successor to the iPhone XR. This is not the successor to the iPhone XS. So, listener, manage your expectations appropriately right now. This thing is the successor to last year's cheap iPhone, which doesn't mean that it's a bad iPhone. This thing actually rocks. So, 6 colors. You get purple, white, yellow, green, black, and product red. And actually, they all look great. Like, every single one of those things, I was like, that looks cool.
Yeah.
And if I were to go buy one right now, I mean, red is my favorite color. I have a product red iPhone now. I have had several product red Apple devices over the years. I would, product red, but honestly, that green and the purple, like, they actually look really good.
The green looks good. I like that one.
So I was like super tempted by those. But, so 6 colors. It is using the same display as the iPhone XR. So it's that 6.1 inch liquid retina display, which is slightly lower pixel density than the iPhone 7 Plus and 8 Plus. But, we'll just roll with it. They're tweaking some stuff about the audio control for this generation of iPhone. They're adding what they're calling spatial audio, which is supposed to be an improved surround experience from the continued use of their dual firing stereo speakers on the thing. That they're saying it supports Dolby Atmos. I'm skeptical about how well that's actually going to translate, but we'll see.
Well, I know that I'm carrying the Razer phone, and it says it has Dolby Atmos on it, but it's more of an equalizer.
Yeah.
On your phone, I think your phone would take more advantage because the speakers on that thing take up half the phone.
It is true.
So
it is nice.
Those are giant
loud,
speakers.
But
in general, I agree with you. On a phone, it's like, why? Why do we need this? Yeah. If you want that good of audio on a phone, you're buying wired headphones.
Yeah,
that you're spending $400.
Dolby Atmos makes a whole lot of sense to me because it's basically like the combination of everything great about surround sound and the surround sound audio delivery system combined with everything great about true stereo audio, and that is best enjoyed with headphones.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's where Dolby Atmos is always going to shine. And like honestly, it's the kind of thing I remember when they added Atmos to Overwatch on PC and they popped up a thing in game and it's all like, you should turn this on and try it out. And suddenly I could hear things around me. Like the spatial audio was super good with that. But that's because headphones on my head, like in my ears. Whereas, a phone that's sitting 3 or 4 feet away from my face with stereo audio.
If you want a good example of what this is going to be like, go back to last week's episode where we were talking the difference between a soundbar and a surround sound system. Because that's what this is going to be. It's going to be better than what you had on the phone previously.
True.
But plugging in some Lightning headphones is going to be a lot better.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's fair to say that Dolby Atmos support in the phone does also mean that presumably it will also support it via headphones, which, okay, that's a good use of the technology. So, okay. But yeah, so that's there. The camera, a whole lot of focus on the camera for this one, because honestly, in every other way, it's kind of just an incremental upgrade over the iPhone XR.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty good camera. So on this one, finally, you do have dual rear shooters on the thing instead of just the one. The first one, your main sensor is a 12 megapixel wide angle sensor with an f1.8 aperture on it. And then they're adding an f2.0 aperture ultra wide angle camera. So there's no telephoto on this thing, which I'm going to miss that telephoto. But no, dude, Landon, I will miss
you will,
telephoto.
Yes. I've always said, if I'm going to have two lenses, one better damn well be a ultra wide, because for me, I have telephoto capabilities on my phone, like the portrait mode stuff. That's what most people are going to use it for. And my wife has the telephoto lens on her phone. I don't think I've ever used it on my wife's phone. I've only used portrait mode on my phone maybe twice, 3 times. So it's like, to me, I don't care. There's been multiple times where I have to take a panoramic photo or the photosphere option that Google has because I can't back up enough to get the picture I want. So the ultra wide, to me, is the selling point for me on this.
I'm gonna miss that 2x zoom.
I get
2x optical zoom is legit.
It.
I use that all the time on my 7 Plus.
Yeah.
But anyways.
I fully understand that side of things, and I agree if the zoom would be better, then yeah, that's kind of nice. But again, for me, I never use it.
And to be fair, listener, if you're in the boat of you really want a telephoto zoom, I mean, Apple did release a phone this year for you. We'll get to that in a second. Yeah. So ultra wide and wide angle is what you got. Which, since there's 2, that does enable the return of. Okay, it's a return for me, I guess. Not a return if you've been on the lower end iPhone the entire time and never got the Plus models. The non-human portrait mode is coming back down from the XS, the X, and the 8 Plus and the 7 Plus, which all had the ability to do you just portrait mode and they just like look at whatever's in the foreground and then bokeh out everything behind it. So that is back with this thing. You can do portrait modes of your pets. You can do portrait modes of your feet. You can do portrait modes of a lamppost, whatever you want, because stereoscopic.
I want a portrait mode of a lamppost now.
Do it. I mean, wait.
I need to find a lamppost.
Well, yeah. And then you got to get your wife a new phone. But then you can go take a portrait mode photo of a lamppost. So there you go.
I cannot wait for this picture, actually.
I'm really looking forward to it.
It's going to be awesome.
Here's the best part. You can take that portrait mode photo at night, and it'll work, because Apple is copying Night Sight, which, let's be fair, we all knew they would.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if they didn't, I would have been shocked.
Yeah, this was coming. Yeah. And from the photos that they showed off in the event, like, looks about as good as Night Sight. Obviously, we have to get it in people's hands before we know whether or not that's true. But if it turns out to perform as well as they were showing it perform, then great. That's fantastic.
I mean, I'm hoping that it does, because Night Sight, that's a feature I use often.
Yeah.
And I love it, and it works great. Even like if it's not poorly lit areas, it makes a big difference. Like, it's just awesome.
I've got to say, the thing with Night Sight, or this night mode, they're just calling it night mode, that I really want it for is, so a couple of months ago, it's a different unit of time. A couple of months ago, I went to Goblin Valley in southern Utah, and that is a fantastic place to go camping with a tent that has that just has netting on the roof, because there's no lights, like there's no people. You are like legitimately 80 or 90 miles away from the nearest town when you are at the campground of Goblin Valley. And the stars are so intense, and it's beautiful. It's amazing. And I pulled out my phone to try and capture a picture of it, and nothing. It's just nothing. I could not get... Yeah. Even I have like a third-party app that allows you to more tightly control the timings and aperture and shutter speed and all that stuff of the phone. And I turned that shutter speed all the way down, opened up the quote-unquote digital aperture as much as was allowed, and I still could not get that thing to take a photo of a single freaking star. I saw some photos of one of the guys that was there with me that he had taken the next morning, that he had a Pixel 3 using Night Sight. He had a full freaking sky full of stars, and I just wanted to punch him in the freaking pixel-owning face. And I was really annoyed with that. So So that's my thing. Like, I'm really, it's just like literally, give me that.
Yeah.
Give me the ability to take pictures of stars. I'm totally on board with that.
Yeah, that's going to be I mean, if you look at how Google advertises, that's one of the main things they advertise with the Pixel phones.
It is,
and
for
it's
the average user, it is a huge selling point.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing, is it's not just a selling point for, like, people that take photos for a living. It's a selling point for people who just take photos with their phones. Like, everybody. One
thing, and obviously they didn't mention this, but one thing that I'm kind of get why they didn't do this, but you can't turn it on your own.
Yes, you can.
Everything I've seen says no, you cannot turn. You can turn it off.
Okay,
but you can't turn it on.
You can turn it off. From what I understand, you can't turn it on your own does relate also to what the flash settings are doing. And this was okay. So this is coming from a guy who, at the hands-on after the event, basically just went to talk to these people, and they're all like, "So can I see night sight or night mode?" And they're like, "Well, it's freaking broad daylight here in the theater, and these lights are like 1,000,000 degrees. Like, what do you want us to do? We can't take a black, like a dark picture right now." But he had a guy walking through like the settings on device, and he was telling him, he's all like, "So like if you turn the flash off or turn the flash on, that's going to change whether or not night mode activates or whether it doesn't. If you're in a dark situation and you want it to be dark and you don't want the night mode to turn on and like blow out the colors or something weird like that, you can turn the thing off manually and stuff like that." He did not get a straight answer from the guy about whether or not you can turn the thing on or whether or not you control when it activates, because the thing, it turns itself on.
Right.
Basically, the phone decides it's dark enough now that whoever is taking this picture just wants to see what's in the picture, so I'm going to turn this on so that I can get a clear picture of it.
Yeah.
The way that he was talking about it also kind of suggested that there might be like scales to like its onness. So there's not on and off.
That.
It's basically just like it's going to be like, oh, it's starting to get darker. I'm going to start turning night mode on, and just it like trends up in a parabolic line until it's fully on.
The way that I heard other people describe it that were also at the hands-on event and whatnot, they were saying that like they were trying to turn it on by basically putting their hand in front of the lens, and so it looked like there was nothing there, and it would turn on, and then you could basically control the shutter speed after it's turned on, and that's kind of the variable. So you can kind of choose how much effect you wanted to have.
Yes.
But none of them could figure out how to turn it on manually. And I get why they don't do that, but like people have tested on the Pixel 3. I never did this, but people have tested with the Pixel 3 phones, turning it on when it's perfectly bright outside and you don't really need it. It does give a little more detail to certain things because it's opening the lens open a little bit longer, and it just brings in a little more of that detail. It doesn't wash it out by any means. Obviously, it still gives you a really good photo.
It's still going to,
but it's just giving you a little more detail.
Well, and what it's going to do is it's going to expose for longer and then do post processing that way. So if you're on a tripod or if you're holding it really still, that's great. If you're not, you're going to get blur, which
potentially,
if you have a $100 Android smartphone, is also an issue you're going to run into. As a side note. Anyways. So moving on, camera stuff still, but video this time instead of photo stuff. iPhone has honestly, it's always been kind of the undisputed king of mobile video.
Yeah.
And I think they still are. Frankly, they showed some videos showing this stuff off on the new cameras, and their video stabilization on these cameras is like next level garbage. It's just ridiculous. They're handheld shooting this stuff on like from the driver's or passenger seat of a car driving across, admittedly, like the salt flats, so pretty smooth ground. But I've driven on the salt flats. It's like driving over a very fine gravel road. There's still bumps. It's still like not perfectly smooth. And just holding the phone out, and this thing looked like they were on a dolly track with a gyro or something like that. But no, they were holding a phone in their hand. Their video stabilization is insane. Anyways. They've updated the video capabilities of the device. You will be getting 4K 60 FPS of extended dynamic range across both of the cameras on the back. Previously, you could get 4K 60, but it was not the quote-unquote extended dynamic range. It was just the high dynamic range, which is different, I guess, in the amount of color it's capturing or something like that.
And it was only on the main sensor.
Right. Which, I mean, to be fair, for anyone who had an XR,
right,
you only had anyways.
But even on the $1,100 phone, it was the main sensor.
It was the main sensor, not the secondary one. So this one, both sensors, which is good.
Yes.
They also introduced Quick Take, which is if you're in photo mode in the camera app and you hold down the shutter button, it takes a video.
Absolutely one of my favorite features that they talked about. I saw this like, holy crap, that's amazing.
Yes.
Because, I mean, they take away burst mode by doing this, and that's fine.
I'm honestly okay with that.
I don't know of anybody that used burst mode on a regular basis, but there are so many times where I'm taking a photo, like, oh, I want to get a video of this. And you have to swipe over. It's got to load, and then you got it, and then you push the button, and by that time, whatever you want to take a video of is over.
Yeah, and it takes a little while for the sensor to initialize for video versus photo, and so like, you miss stuff that way.
Yeah,
and yes, you do get rid of burst mode, but basically, I mean, you shoot at 4K 60. You've got burst mode, except it's a lot faster and it's slightly lower resolution. But whatever, you can take a frame out of that 4K video, post it to Instagram. Absolutely nobody is going to be able to tell that you shot that as a video instead of as a photo. So there you go. So yeah, they also updated the selfie camera. That is now it's a 7 megapixel sensor technically, unless you turn it sideways. It's a slightly taller sensor than it used to be, and it will now shoot 12 megapixels in landscape. Which is so not portrait, but landscape. So that's weird, but okay. They also, you get 4K 30 FPS extended dynamic range with the selfie sensor. You can get 60 FPS without XDR. And they have introduced slow motion to the selfie camera. You can get 120 frames per second on the selfie camera to shoot slow-fies.
No. The worst word.
So here's the thing about this word that I hate.
That's worse than like moist.
No. Here's the thing about slow-fi that is the worst thing ever, is that it's actually brilliant. And I hate them for it. So Animoji was the last time they tried to coin a phrase, and it sucks. Like it has not taken over animated emoji. Like, no, it just hasn't. Animoji is just kind of like fell flat as a term. Whatever. Apple's still using it. They're still gonna use it. Whatever. But here's the problem with Slow-fi. It's FaceTime. It's just so dang natural. It rolls off the tongue so effectively. And immediately upon release, everybody is going to start shooting Slow-fis, posting hashtag Slow-fi on Instagram and stuff like that. And it's gonna take off. They coined a flipping word that I hate that is going to be insanely popular. And dang it, Apple! How dare you? And the worst part of it is you could see on her face when she said the word Slow-fi.
She didn't
she
want to
knew.
Say it. Yeah.
No, she knew what she was doing. She's like, I am changing the world right now. Most everybody in this audience is going to hate me for it, but you can't stop me. I also think you're right. I think she died a little bit inside when she did that as well. So, but there it is. Slow-fis. It's a thing now, and will probably be a thing on every other phone fairly quickly.
Yeah, I'm interested. So I 100% agree with you that once everyone gets these phones, everyone's going to be posting Slow-fi videos. How long is that going to last, though? Like, to me, there's so very few use cases for something like this. Granted, there's not a ton of use cases for slow-mo cameras on the back, and people use them every now. I mean, I don't use mine all the time. I use it probably more often than the average user. Yeah, but it's not very much.
I use it mostly to entertain my kids.
Yeah.
Like, have them do something, film it in slow motion, and then watch it back, and they'll just sit there and giggle like mad the entire time. But frankly, that's probably where it's going to be on the selfie thing as well. Yeah, that's true. Because then you can get the parents in on the fun as well. And have you ever, like, just buzzed your lips in slow motion? Like, that's so much fun to watch. True. That never gets old.
I mean, that's going to be the use case.
Yeah.
That's like, I really liked the commercial that they showed.
That was a really good commercial, actually.
Did you? I guess
I didn't see it.
You didn't watch the event, but
it
was basically it was like this girl with her hair blowing back in the wind and stuff, and then all of a sudden her lips start going all over the place, and the camera
like a
pans
really
out.
Strong breeze or something like that. She's just like, whoa.
And then like the camera pans out, she stops videoing. Her little brother's sitting there with a hairdryer, and she's like, "This direction."
She pushes the hairdryer back, like adjusts the angle, and then goes back to shooting the Slow-fi. And it's I don't know. It's not necessarily like a groundbreaking, earth-shattering feature or anything like that. It's extremely incremental, but just the fact that they coined that phrase, like,
I mean, I agree. The phrase it's the right word, unfortunately.
Yeah, I just hate
but it's an unfortunate word.
Yep. Yep. Okay, so that's the camera for the iPhone 11. They also talked a little bit about the A13 Bionic, which is the new chip that is powering this thing, but mostly they talked about that a little bit later, so we'll get to that a little bit later. They did say that because of the A13 Bionic, with a phone that functionally has exactly the same battery as the iPhone XR, you get an hour more battery than the iPhone XR, which frankly, I went to charge my iPhone XR for the first time in 2 days this morning. I was at like 15 or 16% or something like that after 2 days without seeing a charger. So
yeah,
an hour more. Oh, okay. I would have been at 21%. I wouldn't have even hit the low power mode in iOS. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So pricing for this thing. Now this is the part that actually kind of shocked me.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of good things that happened as a result of this little nugget that we will talk about that all kind of at the end when we wrap up iPhone pricing as a whole. But just for the iPhone 11, $700 for 64 gigs, $750 for 128. So do that. Get that one. Don't pay $700 for the 64 gig. Pay an extra $50. Get double the storage. Just do it. And then $850 for the 256 gig version. So that's the iPhone 11 Pro. Like I said, the nightmare is over. 2 ones. At least the nightmare was over until they announced the iPhone. Oh, whoops! I already said it. I said iPhone 11 Pro, didn't I? Dang it! So they announced the iPhone 11 Pro. iPhone 11, great. The nightmare is over. Naming is excellent. Everything is hunky-dory. Now we have the iPhone 11 Pro, which is the successor to the iPhone XS.
Although the worst name is the 11 Pro Max.
Oh, it's a workout. It's a workout. I'm sorry, that's a workout video. Pro Max, Pro Max. Or like a diesel truck or something like that. It's like, like it's the Duramax. It's Pro Max. Ford Pro Max. I'm sorry. It just sounds so stupid. But anyways, yes, so the iPhone 11 Pro is the successor to the XS 5.8-inch OLED display. The iPhone 11 Pro Max is the 6.5-inch version of that phone. So there you go. Nightmare is only mostly over. This one is a little bit different. So the glass on the back of this one has a matte texture. So, that's interesting, I guess.
Yeah.
They also introduced a new color, which is like a very dark green. They're calling midnight green, I believe.
Yeah.
Which actually looks pretty cool. And if I were to buy one of these things, that would be the one I would get.
It almost looks like the dark camo army green.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it made me think of.
Yeah, it's like an exceptionally dark forest green. It looks pretty darn good, I've got to say. And I will admit that the matte finish on the back of the glass, which is, from what I understand, is not a coating. They've just micro-pocketed the back of the glass in order to get a matte finish on it. So that will not wear off unless you literally scrape off the entire surface of the back glass of your phone. So don't do that, I guess, is the takeaway here. But yeah, so that's basically the new styling of the phone. Is that's it. They've done that.
I mean, that's basically how the Pixel 3 and 3 XL are too.
Yes.
The bottom 3/4 of the phone have that matte finish, and it's the same. It's all glass. It's not. It's just that's what. And it looks really good. But I have a case on mine, and I actually put a screen protector on that back part because that matte finish part of it scratches really easy.
Yes.
And so that's what I'm kind of also worried. I'm like, obviously you're not going to know until people get it in the real world.
Exactly. Apple made a big stink about this event about the glass being like super duper strong and stronger than regular Gorilla Glass and stuff like that.
I mean,
and they actually showed
was them dropping
they showed an ad for the iPhone 11. I'm just sitting there like, holy crap, they're serious about that, because literally the entire ad was like, it wasn't about features of the phone. It was about like, look, we can abuse this thing and it's not going to break. So yeah. That matte finish is not on the back of the iPhone 11, just to be clear, listener.
Although the camera bump on the iPhone 11 is matte finish.
Is it?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't.
The camera bump on the 11 is matte finish. The camera bump on the Pros are the shiny finish.
Interesting.
Very.
That is interesting. I gotta say, the square camera bump, I hate it.
Oh,
I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
Okay,
but
before we move on from that, the bump within the bump, because the glass raises up. And then the lenses also are raised above
the lenses
that.
are not flush with the back of the square camera raised portion on the, which is just retarded.
You got 2 bumps.
It's so obnoxious. I hate it. Now, I did hear somebody from the hands-on, they got their hands on the phone and they're basically like, I don't like the square camera bump, but they have done such a good job with like milling the glass into that shape and stuff like that it at least looks intentional.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like they screwed up the design of the phone. It looks like they knew what they were doing and basically made the best of a bad situation. And so, I mean, okay, I guess that's the best you can say about it. It doesn't look like a mistake. It looks like they intentionally made their phone look stupid. So there you go.
Good one, Johnny.
So anyways, what are the new features of the Pro versus the XS? The OLED displays on these things now, I mean, they kind of technically supported HDR before, but they now have a peak brightness of 1200 nits, which is like punching your eyes every time you look. I just, that's bizarre. Why would you? Anyways, basically what they're going for is they're basically saying that this is going to have the same quality of HDR as their Pro display they're releasing with their new Mac Pro, which they called the Pro Display XDR because extreme dynamic range was better than high dynamic range. Even though technically the thing hits 1,000 or 1,300 nits of peak brightness, both of them would qualify for the HDR 1000 level of contrast, which is really good. It's an industry best. So for sure, good job. 1,200 nits peak brightness is great. But because of this, they decided that HDR is no longer good enough for this phone. They can't just say this phone has an HDR display. They are now calling this the Super Retina XDR display because everything has to have a new name every year.
And it's got to have an awful name every year.
Apple.
I feel like the 90s is coming back with that one.
It's like the .com craze all over again.
Super, ultra,
everything.
ultimate.
I'm just so annoyed. Yeah, Pro Max. Pro Max. Anyways.
iPhone 11 Pro Max with the Super Retina XDR display.
Oh my gosh, it is the 90s.
That's what I'm saying. It's
Holy
that,
crap.
It's that.
I'm watching a Power Rangers commercial.
Right? It's those old 90s commercials that are just like electronics 90s commercials even, that it's like,
they got to have an explosion behind the phone.
Exactly.
Too bad they didn't have that when the phone drops on the ground. Everything behind it explodes, but the phone is still fine.
Oh my gosh. Why has somebody not made this commercial yet?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Get on that, Caleb.
Totally, yeah. Yeah. And you got to have the dude narrating it who always did the monster truck rallies.
I'll do it.
Sunday.
We'll both do it.
Kids,
Come on.
still just $5.
Explosion!
Okay. So anyways.
Back to the phone.
It's a really good display. Just put it this way. It is a Samsung panel, obviously, so it's going to be basically exactly the same as the display in the Note 10 currently.
Tweaked by Apple,
which means that the color calibration is going to be spot on, like virtually indistinguishable from real life. And obviously the 1200 nits peak brightness that was Apple saying to Samsung, this is the spec that we want. And Samsung built a panel to that spec because Samsung is more than just a smartphone company. And that's just people that are surprised about this kind of thing. It's like, why would Samsung give Apple a better display than they put on their own phones?
Because Samsung Mobile and Samsung Display are two different.
Yeah,
they're technically the same company, but they're not.
Yes, Samsung Mobile called up Samsung Display and said, "Hey, we need a phone, or we need a screen for this phone." And they're like, "Okay, what are the specs for it? What are the qualifications?" And they're like, "Well, here it is." And their peak brightness on that paper wasn't 1200 nits, and Apple's was. That's the difference. So there you go. It's a really good display. Now, the A13. They talked about the A13, a lot more detail under the iPhone 11 Pro section of things, and so I just wanted to mention a few things. They have added machine learning accelerators that are built for matrix multiplication, which is a specific type of computer-based math that is apparently really good for machine learning. I don't really understand. What they did say about that was that this thing is apparently capable of 1 trillion operations per second, which is... I mean, so operations per second, if you have ever heard of floating point operations per second, well, that's the flop. So when a GPU maker says that their GPU pumps out like 13 teraflops, that is 13 trillion floating point operations per second. That's what that means. So I'm not sure what exactly this means in this context, because matrix operations, is that what they were talking about? So that's matrix operations per second. So this is 1 teramop. That's what it sounded like to me. I'm not sure if that means anything to you, listener, about whether or not that's more important. Because, like, I wanted to make a comparison from this to, like, gaming graphics cards and be like, a teraflop of performance for a mobile GPU is actually super fantastic compared to, like, straight-up gaming GPUs. Even the most sophisticated consoles you can buy right now get you 5 teraflops of floating point performance for the graphics processor on the thing. But unfortunately, I don't think this is floating point. I think this is completely different. I don't think you can compare the two. But anyways, 1 teramop. There you go. Good job.
That's a fun name. I didn't even think about
Teramop.
Teramops.
Wow.
Okay, so they're using a second gen 7 nanometer node from TSMC to build the thing on, obviously, which means super efficient, And here's the thing about this: the way they've designed this chip, and this is 7 nanometer. That's the manufacturing process. That's the distance between the actual logic gates on the processor itself. The difference, like the distance, the thickness of the silicon that is separating the electrical channels on this board or on this chip. That's tiny, and that's all down to TSMC. Apple basically goes to TSMC and says, here's our design for a chip. How small can you make this? Give us the smallest node that you've got for your manufacturing process. But this next part, this is all Apple's design, and this is why they have spent so many years building up a dedicated silicon design team. They've got a massively distributed power delivery system that allows only tiny pieces of the chip to be powered on at a time. So if you're only using a tiny piece of the chip, basically, background notification updates and stuff like that, then it's only going to power on not one core, but one piece of one core. It's only going to turn on the logic gates it needs to actually do the work that it needs, which is evidently massively more efficient than the way that they were doing it before. And from what I understand, apparently massively more efficient than pretty much any other CPU on the planet. So that's pretty cool. So what they're saying is, with the new emphasis on efficiency, they're able to boost the clocks and get up to 20% more speed out of the chip itself with using up to 40% less power than they were before. So 20% more speed, 40% less power, which is why you get an hour more battery out of having exactly the same battery on the iPhone 11 as you had on the iPhone XR. So that's pretty cool. To go along with that, they announced that the iPhone 11 Pro and Pro Max are going to be getting 4 hours and 5 hours more battery than the previous version, respectively. So there's a big number. Now, to be fair, they did also make the phones a little bit thicker and actually increase the size of the battery a little bit to get to those numbers.
That's okay.
But obviously having a much more efficient chip helps with that as well. So there you go. Better battery life across the board for these things. And honestly, the iPhone XS Max was already really good battery life on that device. So having an additional 5 hours, all right, I don't think anybody's really going to care.
No.
Okay, so going along with power, they are shipping this thing with an 18-watt wall wart in the box.
About freaking time.
And I just got to go ahead and say, why isn't that shipping with the iPhone 11, you thieves?
Fact.
They're still shipping that thing with a 5-watt wall wart, and I want to punch somebody in the face. It's so terrible.
But that's not the Pro. They had to have real reasons to call it a Pro, other than a third camera and a better display. Because other than that, there's no reason it's a Pro.
It's got fast charging via Lightning. You can plug the thing into an 18-watt charger, and you're going to get fast charging off of the thing. It's super duper nice. They've had that around since the first iPad Pros launched. It's been in iPhones since the iPhone X launched. Why aren't we shipping every freaking iPhone with an 18-watt or at least a 12-watt? I would take a 7-watt. Put the old iPad chargers in the box instead of the old iPhone chargers. Like, please. Anyways, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad when you get a $100 Android smartphone from China that ships with a 10-watt wall wart in the box instead of a 5-watt. $100. It's a cheap pile of crap, and it's got a better charger in the box than your stupid freaking $1,000. Anyways,
I mean,
I honestly may be more upset now about the absence of the 18-watt wall wart in the iPhone. If they would have just left the 5-watt one in this one, I probably wouldn't be this annoyed. But the fact that they updated only one half of their portfolio instead of the whole thing just makes me want to punch everyone.
I mean, every Android phone in the same price market comes with a 30-watt.
Yes. And USB-C fast charging.
And USB-C, yeah.
And see, that's the thing, is Lightning fast charging is, I mean, it's obviously a heck of a lot faster than 5 watts, but it can only support up to 18.
Yeah.
Like, you can't go higher than that. The port just cannot handle that, which is, that's why they upgraded the iPads to have USB. Anyways.
That's one thing I was really hoping on these Pro models, that they would have USB.
That would have been nice.
C ports, but because that would have made... Okay, so my big rant, I mean, I agree 100%. Put the freaking 18 in both phones.
So dumb.
But there's no real reason the word pro, especially in the mobile market, means absolutely nothing, and Apple just is proving that.
This is true. No,
I mean,
it's like having a gaming phone versus a pro phone.
If anything, you could call the gaming phones pro because spec-wise, they're more pro than most other, at least in the Android market.
That's true.
Those are
like a higher
pro.
refresh rate screen or something like that.
But Apple's gotten better in the computer market with the Pro devices, because if you look at the new iMac Pro and the Mac Pro are actually Pro devices, except for the MacBook Pro. That's not.
And then there's the MacBook Pro that has a 13-inch model that ships without a discrete GPU, and you're like, what is this crap?
I mean, their laptops are not Pro devices, but their desktop Pro devices are Pro devices.
To be fair, if you're not a Pro and you're buying the i9 MacBook Pro, then you've got problems. But,
True.
You know.
And the iPad Pros have an argument because they are pretty legit awesome devices.
They are.
If you compare them to the regular iPads, they're quite a bit better.
Yes.
But in the mobile market, any phone that has the word Pro on it, it just means it's the higher end version. It's not a Pro phone. I mean, there's not a Pro phone.
Yeah.
And that, if they would have put the USB-C port on the Pro models, I could have justified the name a little more.
We would have complained less.
Very much so. But they didn't.
No.
And the major difference is that the average consumer is going to notice on these phones, that's the difference, is the telephoto lens.
Yes.
I mean, other than that, yes, it's got a much better display. And some people are going to notice that. But it's going to be the people that have a friend that have the 11.
Right.
And they hold it up. Oh, that's a little...
Yeah.
I can
go, whoa,
kind of see a difference.
That's brighter and the colors are more contrasty.
Yeah.
Cool.
Other than that, the average person, the only difference between these two phones is the third camera.
Which is a perfect segue to talking about the camera.
Yeah. And, I mean, yes, camera.
So, this camera. It is the reason that we have a square camera bump on the back of these devices, which I kind of hate it for that. But, whatever. I more hate the idiot that decided they needed to clump them together like a razor instead of lining them up like a sane person.
On the Huawei Mate Pro phones, another Pro phone has a line of actually 4 or 3. Is it 3 or?
I think it's 4 now.
3 or 4.
Yeah.
Except for their one that they have that has 5. It's a circle with one in the middle. That's kind of weird.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Is that a Huawei?
That is a Huawei.
Oh, okay.
But then the Samsung's is 3 in a row.
Yeah.
And it's like that.
Yep. It just looks.
I mean, it looks weird, but
it does look weird, but it looks better.
Yeah.
Anyways, so 3 cameras on the back of this thing that are arrayed. And if you have seen a Philips Norelco razor, Wes is the one that pointed this out before we started recording, and it's the best. I'm never going to be able to unsee this, but that is what they're arrayed as.
Yeah.
Is the head of a Philips Norelco razor. So you can shave with the back of your iPhone 11 Pro. That's why it's so pro. It's because you can shave on the go.
There you go.
That's it.
I want a slow-mo video of that. Wide angle, please.
Follicles. Okay.
Actually, with this one, the telephoto would be the better option.
Yes. Telephoto and night mode.
Yes.
There you go. Perfect. So, yes, there's 3 of them. There's the 12 megapixel wide angle from the 11. There's the 12 megapixel ultra wide angle from the 11. And then a 12 megapixel f2.0 aperture telephoto lens on the thing. So all 3 lenses combined does give you a 4x optical view range, that's pretty cool. I'm going to be honest. That's pretty dope. They're also not releasing with this, but they announced something called Deep Fusion, which is basically, so they made a big deal last year about their post-processing stack for taking photos, about how they had all these different layers that the processor was doing whenever you took a photo, and it was combining different photos and stuff like that in order to make the best image possible computationally, which honestly, if phones are ever going to have a prayer of catching up to DSLRs, it's going to be through computational photography.
Yeah.
Because you just can't compete with having a gigantic freaking lens and a huge aperture in order to bring in a whole ton of light. You just get way more detail that way. So computational photography is the way around that, and Deep Fusion is Apple's next attempt at stabbing DSLRs in the back. And they described it on stage as computational photography mad science. So basically what this is it is taking 8 photos. It has a buffer of 8 photos at any given time when you have the camera app open. And as soon as you push the shutter button, it takes a 9th longer exposure photo and then does some stuff in the background to combine the photos into really low noise images as the output. They showed one off that looked really cool. But, like I said, they're not releasing the phone with this functionality. It is still in development on the software side, but they're saying that the A13 Bionic has the hardware in place for this to work already. So we'll be getting that sometime this fall, maybe, if we're lucky, as an update to iOS. Okay, video. So 4K 60 XDR video on all three sensors. Cool.
That's
so
awesome.
People who shoot video is fantastic. Obviously, you get all the same benefits to the video we talked about with the 11 as well. But there's a couple of additional things that they're adding to this. So they didn't actually say that the 11 wouldn't do this, but they specified it on the 11 Pro. It primes the inactive sensors for focus and exposure while the camera app is open. So you've got one of those, you've got the wide angle selected or something like that. It has primed the ultra wide angle and the telephoto to have the exact same exposure and everything as the sensor that you've got active, so that as soon as you switch between the two, it's ready to go immediately. You don't have to wait. They also showed off an app called Filmic Pro, which allows you to view the video of all four cameras
and
on the phone and record all four at the same time as separate video streams.
That's awesome.
That actually looked pretty cool. That app looked super dope.
And that's when it's another thing that there's no reason this can't work on the 11 because it's the same processor. All the internals are the same. So, like, depending on the price of that app, which is not going to be cheap.
Yes.
That's so
If you've got an 11, you're obviously missing out on the one camera.
Right.
But
still.
It's still pretty dope.
I mean, you still get 3 angles on the 11 or 4 angles, not angles, but 4 different, like, scalable parts of that video and one facing you. That's one thing that I was listening to a couple of different podcasts and people are saying, like, they'll often be at a trade show of some sort and want to interview someone and they'll want to do video. But this way they can video the person they're talking to and themselves at the same and get a dual angle a dual angle video, kind of like you would on a news report, of the interviewer and the interviewee. And that's awesome.
Yes.
That's so cool.
And like they showed it off as like a cinematography kind of thing. They had like a director and stuff like that were going. And they were displaying it as like giving them the ability to shoot 2 characters that are having a conversation at the same time, so that you've got with a device that is small, that isn't going to get in between them, so that you can have a nice intimate conversation between 2 people and you can get both of their faces at the same time without hampering their ability to have the conversation. And then you can just cut back and forth between the two seamlessly. Do it in one take. You don't have to do 2 takes, one this way and one that way, and hope that they actually hit their lines exactly the same both times.
And you don't have to have 2 cameras or different.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So like that's
so awesome.
That's actually pretty cool. There was also, this was not actually shown off at the event, but I did hear about another app that the developer announced right after the 11 Pro went live. They're basically like, we've had this hardware in mind for quite some time, and we are going to be using some hardware that Apple didn't even actually talk about to synchronize up to 4 iPhones to shoot video all at the same time. Wow. So you hit record on one and all 4 start recording. And if they then build in the ability to record all 4 cameras on all 4 of those iPhones, there would be some insane crap happening there, but it would be super, super cool.
That
I can
awesome.
see like a whole bunch of like small time filmmakers basically going, screw DSLRs and like minor level film cameras. Like if you're not shooting 8K RAW on a Red or like Blackmagic 4K, like insane stuff, some of the insane stuff Blackmagic has going on, you might be better off shooting with a freaking iPhone because of some of the advantages, the ability that this software gives you with these multiple cameras. So pretty cool stuff going on there. All right. Now, let's talk about pricing for the iPhone 11 Pro and the iPhone 11 Pro Max. The 11 Pro starts at $1,000 for 64 gigs. The 11 or the 256 gig version, there's no 128 on this one, jumps up to 256 for $1,150, and then 512 available for $1,350, which is great. It's even better when the Pro Max starts at $1,100 for 64 gigs. 256 will set you back $1,250, and 512 gigabytes for an iPhone will get you $1,450.
So they're jumping
very expensive phone.
$150.
Yes,
which is
it's the same amount of money as going from the 64 gig to the 256 gig on the 11. It's just that there's a 128 in the middle there. So they go from 64 to 256 and jump $150 instead of giving you 128 for a $50 increment.
But they used to always just be $100 increments.
They did, yeah.
So that's why I'm like, oh, they bumped that up.
So they actually they kind of threw a bone to everybody who's going to be buying the cheaper phone, which honestly is kind of everybody. Like honestly, the vast listener, I don't know anything about you specifically from this context right now, but I feel fairly confident in saying if you're looking at an iPhone 11, just get the iPhone 11. Don't bother with the Pro. It costs way too much money for what you're going to use. You get basically all of the exact same functionality out of the iPhone 11 that matters. I mean, yes, you're missing out on the telephoto zoom lens. Yes, you don't get 1200 nits of peak brightness on an XDR display.
You're not going to blind yourself with your phone.
Yeah. And, I mean, you're not going to be able to introduce your phone as the Pro Max. So, yes, there are some downsides, but it's not worth $300 premium it's just not worth it. It's just not worth $300 for the vast majority of people. I can see some people who are really heavy into video actually being able to justify the additional $300 pretty easily, just because of some of the abilities that you're going to get from having the 3 sensors and a processor that can handle recording all 4 of the sensors on the phone at the same time. So, yeah, there's a few people out there, but honestly, odds are pretty good that you, listener, you don't need it. And the iPhone 11 is an excellent device and comes in a lot of pretty colors. So, go for it.
And gets you 1 year of Apple TV Plus.
Yeah.
Granted, sort of the more expensive ones, but
everything.
Yeah, also, I mean, I could justify the Pro or the Pro Max if you are trading in a device, because Apple, I mean, just from that, I mean, have they done this before? Like, trade into Apple? Because I know you can trade into, like, Best Buy and other places, but trading in...
They did it for the first time last
year. So you can trade in a different phone to Apple and get, depending on the phone and depending on how good a condition and whatnot, a decent amount off.
Yes. I would actually, for my phone, so my iPhone XR, 128 gig, that is a year old and in basically flawless condition, because I'm just that good.
He's got a case.
Yeah, I do have a case. And a screen protector. Because who doesn't? You're crazy if you don't. Brave, maybe. You're brave if you don't. Anyways, that phone I checked just because I was curious, because I am super tempted by the iPhone 11 just for the improvements to the camera and freaking night mode. That would actually get me like $550 or something like that back, like in trade-in value.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm down a couple $100 for having a used phone, but honestly, I'm getting like over $500 of trade-in value on this thing, which makes paying $700 for a new phone
nothing.
Yeah, that feels pretty good, honestly. So it's definitely pretty tempting. If you've got a fairly recent iPhone, it's not bad to do a trade-in and upgrade with this one. So let's talk a little bit about just the iPhone landscape as a whole. So these phones, they're available for pre-order right now. If you want to pre-order them right now, you can do that. I don't really recommend pre-ordering hardware. I would say probably go. In fact, I don't really recommend pre-ordering most things, frankly. But wait for it to hit an Apple store near you. Go and test it out at Best Buy or something like that.
So I'm in the same boat with especially the iPhone, because like pre-orders always sell out within minutes, and you're going to be waiting an extra week or two or more to get whatever phone you want. But
they're going to be in stock in your carrier store.
Yeah, exactly. Like we went in the weekend of the phone, like a couple days after the phone was actually out, to our AT&T store, and you could pick up a phone. Granted, we had to wait because we wanted the white one, 128 gig of the 7 Plus, so pretty popular version of that phone.
Yeah.
So we had to wait a week to get it in. Still got it earlier than most people that wanted the same phone pre-ordering.
Yep. So
pre-orders, go into the store and get it.
I don't really recommend pre-orders, but as of September 20th, you will be able to go buy the thing at places.
Yes.
Wherever iPhones are sold near you. So, the rest of the landscape. The iPhone XR is sticking around. Now, we had talked before the event that I was actually hoping that the iPhone XR would stick around. I wasn't sure exactly what was going to happen with rumors of an updated SE, but they are keeping the iPhone XR around. It starts at $600, not $500. Kind of a bummer, but The iPhone 8 and 8 Plus are also sticking around. The iPhone 8 starts at $450.
That's a dang good deal.
So there's your sub $500 iPhone.
That's cheaper than I was expecting it to be $500, and they said $450. I'm like, holy crap!
Yeah. So $500 gets you the, I believe 32 gig 8. Did they have a 32 gig 8?
They haven't had a 32 gig phone since the 6S.
Was it the 6S? Yeah. So okay, I guess it was a 64 gig. So that'll get you a 64 gig iPhone 8, and I believe $100 more will get you a 64 gig iPhone 8 Plus. So that's $550. And then if you jump up another $50 over that, which honestly, do that, you get a 64 gig iPhone XR for $600. And then the XR, you can get more storage with the XR if you want, but you can also just jump up another $100 above that and get an iPhone 11 for $700. So they actually have from $450 right on up through $1,500. There is an iPhone positioned about every $100 to $150, and occasionally just $50. There's some closer gaps in there, all the way through that entire price spectrum, which is honestly the best lineup for price coverage that iPhone has had ever. Like I can't honestly think of a time that was better. So if you want to buy a new iPhone or a new to you iPhone, like you've got a super old iPhone like a 5S or something like that, and your 5S has been treating you great, because honestly the 5S was a fantastic phone. The thing was beautiful, and I don't blame you for holding on to it for this long. But now, iOS, you're losing iOS. The latest version is not going to run on your device, and sure, iOS 12 does run pretty smooth, but your battery's getting a little old, and you're just not too sure how long this thing's going to stick around. You can upgrade now to a great phone. Anything from the iPhone 8 they're all great phones. You want to keep the home button? It's only $450.
Yeah.
And you're going to be getting a really good phone. If you don't care about the home button, you really want to try out Face ID, but still a little cash strap, $600 is not bad for the iPhone XR. That's a good price. So there you go. That is the iPhone line. Honestly, the camera on that iPhone 11, I just really, 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 really want night mode. But if they do release a new Apple TV sometime between now and Christmas, I will probably pick up that instead and be happy with that and my additional year of Apple TV Plus as a result.
I will be picking up an iPhone 11 and making Caleb jealous. Well, not myself.
Yeah.
My wife will be getting an iPhone 11 and making Caleb jealous. And I will be taking full advantage of that 1 year of Apple TV Plus. Because C does look really interesting.
It does. It actually looks pretty cool.
Well, I hope there's more than just C.
Well, there's that. There's the morning show. There's I think 3 or 4 of the ones. At least there's about 5 or 6 that are supposed to come out right when it is coming out.
There will be episodes available.
Yeah, but I know of C and the morning show for sure are 2 of them, and those are 2 of which that I actually kind of want to watch.
There's a few educational programs for kids as well. There's a Snoopy Goes to Space or something like that. Peanuts show. And then the Muppets one is not necessarily going to be available at launch. They did show it like in their slides. So like I would assume it will be available shortly after launch, if not at launch. So there you go. Now, there's a few things that came out after the event they did not actually talk about at the event that I just wanted to touch on. So the U1 is the new name of the Motion coprocessor that is included in the iPhone 11 and the iPhone 11 Pro and the iPhone 11 Pro Max. That thing is responsible for the ultra-wideband radio that is used for position tracking with other U1 devices. Now, I had mentioned the ultra-wideband radio stuff in association with the tracker that was not talked about at the event, but the U1 chip is there. It supports the technology. They have it listed on the iPhone's website as basically being for improved location accuracy between other U1 devices and for improved AirDrop functionality between those devices. So basically, instead of like kind of getting everybody around you that happens to have AirDrop turned on their iOS or macOS device, you will get whoever is directly in front of you. So that's pretty cool.
That is cool.
So that is there, but no word about the tracker itself. So that may be coming later. So two-way charging. We had talked about these phones having the ability to wirelessly charge other devices like an Apple Watch, like the AirPods with the wireless charging case, stuff like that, or other iPhones if you're weird, I guess. They didn't actually talk about that at all, but reportedly the hardware is there. Some from the pipeline or from the the manufacturing side of things, a leaker has said that the hardware was put into the phones and it is disabled in software. So that is something that Apple could enable in software at some point in the future, because apparently the hardware is there. So it's entirely possible, just not ready for them to talk about yet. They're not finished ironing out the software bugs. And so they've learned from the AirPower, and they're not going to talk about it until it's actually ready to go.
Yeah. But could this do the Apple Watch? Because it's not a Qi powered
No,
device.
you're right. That one's inductive.
It could do the headphone, like the
AirPods and Beats that have the enabled charging cases, and then
which is, I mean,
iPhones.
that's honestly, I mean, Samsung has this on their phones, and in their commercials, they stupidly have people charging phones off of it. It's not going to do you any good to do that.
That's dumb.
But the use case for the majority of people are going to be like the Samsung Galaxy Buds, like the ones that I have, their Qi wirelessly charged case. You could do that, and that's where it would be handy.
Yep.
Charging another phone is not handy.
No.
I mean, it's going to be super slow and drain your phone, and it's just
you're going to come out of it behind, because some of that energy gets converted into heat. During the transfer.
So I mean, charging like the Galaxy Buds, or in this case the AirPods or something, that is where it's useful, and that's where most people are going to use it, and that's probably how they're going to advertise it. I don't know when, if it actually is there, when they're going to switch this on.
It honestly, they'll switch it on as soon as I assume the software is ready to go. But spring, maybe, give them a few months to get it working.
Maybe when there's a third or another update to the AirPods, because there's been rumors of new AirPods coming since the last AirPods came. So who knows?
Yep. Okay, and one last thing that's actually kind of related to the whole concept of the charging other devices stuff. They sure did get rid of the name on the back of the phone and center the Apple logo. That's definitely a thing that happened. The rumor is that they centered the Apple logo as a visual indicator for where to put the AirPods if you want to charge them on the back of the device.
Huh, that makes sense.
So that is another piece of evidence suggesting that, hardware is there. It's intended to work, but the software isn't ready for it yet. So there you go. That is all of the Apple news that I have. How long did that take? What was that, like an hour and a half?
Yep, roughly.
That could have been worse. I do have more news, so that's maybe the worst part.
Nope, not at all.
Here, listener, it got worse.
You did do this in less time than Apple did, though.
That's true.
Granted, we didn't have 85 different trailers for things that most people don't care about. So
that's true. Okay, other tech news, general tech news. Firefox, listener, I don't know if you use Firefox. It's a fine browser. More power to you. Firefox is actually introducing a browser-based VPN. So we talked about VPN was that last week? We talked about VPN last week. So here we go. Firefox is giving you the ability to privatize your browsing history and stuff like that from your ISP, from anybody who would happen to be looking at it via a VPN that is built into Firefox and is therefore available for free because, Firefox is free. So, and open source. So it's an open source VPN as well, which means probably there's not going to be any logging happening or anything like that, because who in the open source community has the time or desire? So Opera actually did this a while ago. The Opera browser included a VPN for a while. I actually did use it a little bit, and it was fine. And I assume that Firefox is going to be also fine, probably a little bit more refined and that kind of thing. But, if you are a user of Firefox, this is something that you're going to be able to turn on in the next major update of Firefox, which is nice. And if you are not a user of Firefox, maybe this is the thing that's going to convince you to use Firefox. It's much faster than the last time you tried. Just put it that way. It's as fast as Chrome now. It actually keeps up just fine and has most of the feature set, everything. It feels an awful lot like a nice, smooth, easy to use web browser. You're not going to have any major complaints with it. Cool. Okay, gaming. Let's talk about gaming. So,
here we go.
In the larger gaming news spectrum, over this past week, we had Borderlands 3, Gears 5, and Greedfall launch. Those are available on, except for Gears 5, PS4, Xbox, and PC. Now, Borderlands 3 on PC is an Epic Store exclusive, and Gears 5 is obviously, it's an Xbox exclusive. That's not going to be available on the PS4. Greedfall is available on all three platforms. None of these are launching on the Switch. So, just to be clear. So, as far as the length of time for Borderlands 3 exclusivity, I'm not sure. I know that Control is an exclusive for 1 year, and then will be available on Steam. I don't remember whether or not Borderlands 3 was similar to that, or if it was going to be like just full on, this is only ever going to be in the Epic Game Store, but I'm pretty sure it was not. It was a timed exclusive.
It is timed. I can't remember how long.
Based on the fact that Control was a year, I would assume 6 months to a year for Borderlands 3.
Sorry, Steam users.
Which is, sorry, everyone.
I was going to say, sorry, everyone.
Sorry, PC gamers as a whole.
That was
kind of sucks. But for anyone who's unaware of Greedfall, it is getting quite a bit of attention right now, so I figured I better mention it. It's basically a fantasy, colonial, pirate, BioWare RPG. So I mushed a whole lot of things together there because it is all of those things. And you're going to have, it's a fantasy RPG, so there's magic. It is a pirate RPG, so there is like sea combat and really cool character customization. It's a colonial RPG, which means that, if you happen to live in the United States or Britain or someplace that had colonies at some point in time, you're probably going to feel bad about some of the things your ancestors did as a result of playing this game, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. And it's a BioWare RPG, which means you're going to have companion characters and you're going to be able to romance them. So that's Greedfall in a nutshell.
Fair enough.
Another game was announced that I want to talk about called Munchkin Quacked Quest. This actually announced and will be available fall of 2019, so coming shortly. So anybody who has played the Munchkin tabletop game from Steve Jackson Games, you kind of know what you're in for. It's going to be weird and hilarious and a whole lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it, and it's going to be available on all 4 platforms: Xbox, PS4, PC, and Switch. Any of your platforms you can get this game on. I'm actually really looking forward to that. I will probably play it.
This is a weird question, but is it at all crossplay or needed to be crossplayed?
I don't actually know whether or not it's going to be crossplay. They didn't say that I'm aware of. I suspect probably not, but who knows? Yeah. And to be clear, it's not going to be like taking the Munchkin card game and turning it into a computer game. It's not a card game. It is a dungeon crawling RPG that is basically taking the spirit of Munchkin versus tabletop Dungeons and Dragons and applying that to computer game RPGs. So it's going to have a whole bunch of weird, wacky dungeon crawling, like basically a parody of the dungeon crawler experience in a video game. That's kind of what to expect there. All right. Moving on, I would like to talk about Sony specifically for a minute here. First of all, Death Stranding has a plot. Apparently, there is actually a plot to this game. They released like an hour of gameplay about it, and Kojima stood on stage for an hour prior to the hour of gameplay talking about it, and I still have no idea what the heck is going on. From a high level, I guess what we've learned is that you are playing to reconnect splinter groups of people in the former United States in this post-apocalyptic world by trekking across the countryside as what's-his-face. And that's the basic gist. That's your objective. Your main objective is to try and reunite the U.S. There's obviously going to be like a whole bunch of like plot nuances to that and other characters and stuff like that. Otherwise, it's, I don't know, it would be kind of lame. But we don't necessarily know what all of that is. Like I said, there was a bunch of gameplay released, but a lot of it was focused on like the hub world and character customization and stuff like that. Did not really give us a whole lot of information, but there was one little nugget. There's going to be multiplayer, but not multiplayer, not like co-op or like versus or anything like that. It's going to be kind of a detached multiplayer, similar to Journey or Dark Souls, where people can just kind of appear in your instance of the game and like they're not in danger, they're not being attacked by the monsters you're fighting, but they can throw like health to you or something like that. They can do stuff to help you out without putting themselves into any danger. And they just kind of pop in and then pop out. So not like dedicated multiplayer, but some kind of super detached multiplayer. So that's interesting, I guess.
Yeah.
And kind of weird, which I guess fits with Kojima. And there you go. So Death Stranding, it's a Kojima game.
Okay.
All right. Also happening in the Sony world, Persona 5 is getting a dedicated PS4 Pro that is skinned for the game. So if you're a huge fan of Persona 5 and you really want to, have a sweet looking PS4 Pro, it actually does look pretty cool. But there you go. That's going to be available. And according to Sony, this is news. The X button on your DualShock controller has actually always been the cross button. You've been calling it X this whole time. You were wrong. You person who has been playing Sony consoles since the late 90s. Turns out that was a cross the entire time.
Yeah.
Sure it was, Sony.
Yeah.
Sure it was. I'm not buying it. But it definitely does kind of seem like Sony is just being stupid because there's an X on the Xbox controller.
It's the 10 button.
Oh, jeez.
Get it right, Caleb.
You know what? That's going to be my response. Next time somebody asks me to weigh in on the Sony Cross controversy, I'm just going to be like, what, you mean the 10?
Sony 10?
That's the 10 button. What are you talking about? All right, there it is. No, I'm sorry. That's the end of that discussion.
It's done.
So Sony is also not being a jerk in some ways. They're actually allowing developer Hi-Rez, to bring console crossplay support to Paladins, Smite, and Realm Royale, which you may have heard of as the knockoff version of a whole bunch of other popular games. That's exactly what they
knockoff.
are. Paladins is knockoff Overwatch, Smite is knockoff League of Legends, and Realm Royale is knockoff PUBG. Or Fortnite, more likely. That's exactly what they are. It's basically the store brand version of popular games, but they're all free. So, there's that. Anyways, Hi-Rez has, I don't know, apparently been trying to bring console crossplay to these titles for quite some time. They've been able to do it via, like PC and Xbox, obviously, can crossplay there. And now Sony is backing down and allowing them to introduce crossplay to the PS4 versions of all of those games. So that's good. This is now like the third developer that has basically gotten that concession from Sony, and actually does kind of seem to indicate that Sony is at the very least warming up to the idea.
Well, Hi-Rez was one of the ones that kept saying something about Sony, and so finally to shut them up, Sony's like, fine.
Yes. But, I mean, if it works for Hi-Rez, a whole lot of other developers are going to start doing it.
True.
So, there you go. Sony is apparently not being as big a jerks as we think they are. And honestly, I think Sony is probably trying to garner some good faith with consumers prior to launching their next generation of console. I think there's definitely a real push there. So, fair enough. Now, talk a little bit about Nintendo before we wrap up, because that is where before I wrap up and finally stop talking, listener, I'm sorry it's taken so long. I just want to mention there was an article I saw that was titled "How to Play Nintendo Switch on a Plane." I just wanted to mention this because I think it's really important that we make it clear, listener, how you can play your Nintendo Switch on an airplane. You take it out of your bag, you turn it on, and you play it. Because that's how the Nintendo Switch works. You hold it in your hands. It's a handheld. I don't understand what idiot thought that this was... Like, if they were basically coming to the table with, here's how to play PS4 Pro on an airplane. All right, that's something I might need a tutorial on how to do sanely. Like, how am I going to pack a PS4 Pro, a monitor for the thing, and then some way to plug them both into power into my carry-on? Like, all right, I need some tips on that. But a Switch? If you've got fairly large cargo pockets in your shorts, you can just stick it in your pocket and, just pull it out of your pants, and there you go. You're playing. It's not hard. It's like carrying a phone onto an airplane. Except it's a Switch.
Apparently I don't know. These things are important.
I don't get what this person was thinking, but whatever. There it is. And actual Nintendo news I wanted to mention: The Sinking City has released on the Nintendo Switch. So for anyone that has not heard of the Sinking City, it is an H.P. Lovecraft based game, which means you can expect a whole lot of super creepy visuals, mid last century New England visuals and setting, and fish people, and general just Lovecraftian eldritch horror, which is not going to jump scare you, is not going to gross you out with gore or anything like that, but it is basically just going to gradually unsettle you to the point that you start losing your mind. That's H.P. Lovecraft's particular style of horror, and it is actually really fantastic. And so there you go. Sinking City, from what I have heard, is a pretty darn good interpretation of that horror, and it's now available for you to take on an airplane on the Switch.
Yes, it is.
So that is all my stuff. All of it. I'm done.
Great. Awesome. Well,
it's just me talking for 2 hours.
if you had to rate this Apple event using a graded system in A, B, C, D, F,
I would say on a scale of 1 to max, what is it?
It's obviously an 11.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, that one.
I mean, clearly.
Geez. Guys, this is why I said A, B, C, D, or F. I was trying to keep the puns
now
up.
that you said that, I don't think I heard one we turned it to 11 thing.
Whoa, you're
anywhere
right.
in that event.
Oh my gosh.
That is like...
There was...
What?
Okay, I was like holding back.
They completely missed that.
I was holding back mocking Phil Schiller the entire time for the number of times he said it's so pro during the iPhone Pro.
He's the one that would have said we turned it to 11.
Right, but the fact that he didn't say we really turned it up to 11 at any point in that entire thing.
Someone else wrote his script.
Yeah. I'm actually really... okay, you know what? I'll give him credit. I will give him a pass on the number of times he said it's so pro. Because he did not say, we turned it up to 11.
I also don't think I heard him say, you're going to love it. Or we think you're going to love it. Because that's another one of his things that he always says.
That's his trademark.
We think you're going to love it.
He's got that phrase trademarked. Didn't you know? Nobody else is allowed to say it. Great. We're going to get sued by Phil Schiller now, Landon, now that you've said that.
That's fine. I've said it in a couple, actually. I think I said it last week, too.
It's so pro. Wow, no turned up to 11 jokes at all. Good. Thank you, Apple. Thank you. Maybe the nightmare really is over.
You still suck at naming.
I mean, yeah, Pro Max. But, it's a dietary supplement. That's it. It's a dietary supplement.
You can get it at your local GNC.
Yes.
Dietary or some kind of laxative, whichever.
It's some kind of supplement. It's a health supplement. Pro Max.
So, B...
No,
listener, do not swallow your iPhone Pro Max, please.
See,
or try to take it the way you would take any other drugs. Do not suppose your iPhone.
Please don't roll your iPhone into a blunt.
Don't do any of these things. Anyways, how would I rate this? What ranking would I give this event? It actually had a fair amount of content to it. We talked about some services. We had 3 different pieces of hardware we talked about. And they kept moving pretty well. I didn't necessarily get bored at any point, though I will admit there was a point about halfway through the Pro Max or the Pro iPhone thing where they were talking about cameras. I was kind of like, all right, you already showed off the cameras on the last version of the phone. Like, they would have introduced all 3 phones at the same time. That probably would have been better. But as it stands, a B. I think a solid B.
Well, that's another reason why I thought that this was more of a marketing event than anything else, more so than other past events, because the way they presented the 2 phones. The iPhone 11 was very, they talked about the features that anybody that buys that phone is going to use. And the same thing with the Pro. With the Pro, they kind of were trying to justify the Pro name and market it to a Pro user that's really should be using something else in most cases, and probably already is using something else in most cases. But that's one reason, why they didn't show all 3 phones at the same time, and why it felt more as like, oh, this is just one giant commercial. Yeah,
that's fair. But at least they did also talk about the watch and the iPad and both of the services they talked about at the beginning, and that took up a solid over half, a good hour of the event. They only had 40 minutes or something like that they were talking about the phone. So it definitely went better than some of the previous iPhone events.
And this one didn't seem too long. Right. I've seen some Apple events that they're stretching this out and you can tell. Yeah. Whereas this one, it didn't seem too long. It didn't seem like they were trying to pack too much into a shorter time. They took as long as they needed to, and it felt fine.
Yep.
They moved on when they needed to, for the most part. They didn't over talk certain things. It was just, here's what it is, here's what it does, and then they show the screen of all the other crap that it does that they're not going to talk about, and then they move on.
Yep, not bad.
Cool. I give it a solid B.
Good.
In my opinion. Not my favorite event that I've watched, but definitely not the worst.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely good.
It's no original iPhone event.
No, that's so much
fun.
But
nothing is ever an original iPhone event. So
and probably never
kind of a once-in-a-lifetime event, I'm pretty sure. We are never going to have a tech keynote as good as that tech keynote. And the fact that everybody has started doing tech keynotes since then, I think really indicates that nobody has quite grasped that. Like, you guys you can stop. Most of this is just press releases. Just tell us about the new thing and we're fine. We don't need a whole hour-long keynote with all the pomp and circumstance that goes along with it, because most of this just it's not worth it. It's not worth it. I'm sorry. You're not Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs even had some really boring keynotes. The fact that we had the one, you can't, no. Sorry, everyone else. And honestly, sorry, Apple, you should also probably kind of stop doing so many,
Anywho, thank you, listener, for listening to that.
Yes, thank you.
This is the end
Sincerely.
of the podcast of our Apple Events podcast. But anyway, if you have any questions, concerns, or complaints, you can email Caleb at... No.
I mean, you can.
No, you can get on our website, callingallplatforms.com. Leave us a comment or a message or anything that way. It'd be great to hear from you. Next thing you can also do, if you want to look at some gaming videos, we do have gaming videos, game reviews that will be coming up on our YouTube channel.
And Gears 5 gameplay that's going to be coming as well.
And we did have some pretty funny things happen.
I still think my favorite was the stealth kill animation where Blake was standing on my screen, at least literally 10 feet away from the thing he was killing. And I was just like, what the
I think the best though was when I'm walking around with the big gun and all of a sudden I died because he shot the barrel.
Oh, yeah.
There's an explosive barrel underneath the bridge I was on. And he's like, whoa, what does this do? Boom. And then I'm like, bleh, died.
I'm just like flying around the level or whatever. And then massive explosion. Then suddenly you have failed. Screen pops up. I'm like, wait, what just happened? And then Wes and Blake are sitting over here just laughing their heads off. And I'm like, what did you do?
Well, I thought I went over like a mine or something. But he's like, oh, hey, I'm sorry. That was an explosive barrel apparently I shot. Thanks.
That was great. Yes, that will be in the highlight reel.
There was a few things actually that I can't remember now, but that was the big one I remembered.
Oh man,
it was awesome. Of course, you can see me plenty of times like, hold on, guys, I'm almost there. Walking around with this big gun
and picking up a crap ton of collectibles while he goes.
Achievement hunting, man.
Yeah,
it's in my blood.
It's a problem.
It's a problem. I need this.
And then the number of times that Blake accidentally shoved you through into the next section of the game by walking through a gate.
Oh, yeah. Or like
before you were ready.
Under something.
It's like, no, I was going to pick up that ammo. Oh,
I think that's the funnest thing on that Gears, though, was just seeing you as the Jack robot picking up a Lancer. Here, drop. Here, yes. You need this.
I'm like not doing anything to actually help kill stuff, but I am picking up a whole crap ton of ammo and carrying it to other people.
It really is.
Super, super great. I felt like a support. It was actually like fitting my playstyle very well because I'm like, I can be supportive. I can.
Yeah.
Do you need ammo? Do you need me to come rescue you or something like that? Like I can revive you. I can't like kill anything, but I can revive you.
Flashbang.
I can flashbang people.
Yep.
Yeah. This is pretty cool. So yes, listener, that will be coming.
Yes, it will. As well as probably some video game reviews.
Yeah. I'm gonna get back on.
Sorry,
they're coming.
Anywho. All right. Thank you for listening and have a good week.
Bye-bye.
See ya.